AAT Birds Weekly Report is the Eagle news, notes, and analysis you need. All about the birds. It's all birds, all the time.
And what's up, everybody? It is Johnny Ulecka, as I'm always joined by Matt on this wonderful night. People will be listening to it and watching this during the day tomorrow, which will be Thursday. But it's an awesome night. We have Eagles football to talk about, a game that was played last week. A huge injury we have to get into and talk about, and some joint practice notes, some training camp notes, news, some different things going on that I want to touch on. But Matt, how are we doing?
We're doing well. How are we doing?
We're doing well. Some concerns I want to bring up when we talk about the team and everything. I know, you and I go back, like we always say every week, you and I go back and forth talking about, what they've done, certain things, certain moves, certain practice, some notes, who's starting, who's in there, who's hurt, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
I want to touch on the game briefly here before we get into the injury aspect and some notes from camp and the joint practices.
Do we want to start with just some like quick house cleaning, like transactions and stuff like that before we dive in?
So if you want to do that, so the quick kind of transactions.
Listen, this is the time of year where there's like a million tiny little transactions, right? There's like dudes,
but there's meaning behind it all.
There is, and so this week, small move, but a move nonetheless. Christian Johnstone, backup long snapper. Unfortunately, we will not be getting a long snapping duel in camp. He was waived for defensive tackle Justin Rogers. Obviously, I think that speaks volumes to the health of Hewlett, who's now rocking the sweet neck roll. Shout out there. That means he's going to be an absolute stud this year. Rogers is a beefy boy. He's a lot like the Evans kid that was first off the bench to play nose tackle in that game against Cincinnati. He's almost exactly the same size. He's 6'2", 338. I think Evans is listed at 6'2", 337.
They're like identical.
Yeah, so they're looking at some big plugs to clog up the middle there when they go with their 5-man front. Former 7th round pick by Dallas, played at Kentucky for 2 or 3 years, then Auburn, on and off practice squads, Dallas, Cincy, Dallas, Seattle, now in Philly. Obviously, they're looking for depth at this time of year at that nose tackle position. I don't know whether it's to, again, just have bodies in camp or whether they're actually looking for a backup nose, which we've been, again, screaming for 3 years. Yeah, go ahead.
Don't be surprised if, one of these backup nose, whether it's Evans or Rogers, ends up on the practice squad. It's not bad to have an extra nose tackle on the practice squad. Even a guy like, we'll get into when we talk about him, is Jacob Sykes. Like having some extra depth there along the defensive line is definitely key.
Although
trading Thomas.
He's not really a nose though. He's actually
he's
smaller.
He's not a nose.
Yeah, he's like I think they have him listed at like 280.
Yeah, he's not a nose. He's very active inside and everything. But my thing is just like getting a Rogers or an Evans as a nose, and then adding another defensive tackle, and having a couple guys on the interior wise.
Absolutely.
Is definitely key, especially when you have all those practice squad spots. Now,
another interesting note, real quick, before we get in,
bring up what you were gonna.
Yeah, when it comes to the health of Hewlett, I did some drinking this week at the shore, and a little birdie told me that Rick Lovato is apparently on speed dial here if the Eagles run into issues, which I think is pretty interesting. So keep that in the back of our minds. If there's an injury to Hewlett, who has been notorious for being an Iron Man out there, if he does go down, if this neck thing is a concern, look for them to maybe dip to the 2-time Super Bowl champ.
So, and I was actually going to bring that up, but luckily, you got that all brought up. My thing too is like, it's going to be interesting to see with, that whole operation is key. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that all plays out because it's a crucial part of the game. So, we'll see with that. Now, looking in the essentially the game from this past Thursday, a couple things. Of course, the Tanner McKee stuff has been, really out there. Of course,
we don't need to cover that. Yeah.
And of course, we knew it. Well, I knew it from when they drafted him that he was a project, but someone that he could definitely build into a quarterback.
Well, I mean, at one point he was considered like some folks were saying he has
borderline first round pick.
Yeah. Some folks were saying that he had the talent to be a first round pick. He certainly has the size. He has the traits. We all knew he could sling it. I didn't know much about his accuracy. He's shown tremendous improvement in mobility. I mean, he never really lacked it per se, but he wasn't like a Joe Burrow out there extending plays. He's navigating the pocket much better this year than he did last. That play where he rolled to his right, we all thought he was going to throw it away and almost hit Calcaterra for a completion.
Yeah, that was a good play.
Yeah, he's legit, man. Like how he's going to flip him for like a first round pick in like a year or two. But yeah, he's. We all kind of knew that he had the traits. We didn't know he was going to be this good, this fast.
Yeah, and it's good to have that because you can, like you said, turn it into a positive when you look at trying to flip it and get a potential high draft pick. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the, probably next year would be the time for that. But you need quality backup play. You need a quality quarterback. And that's why Kenny Pickett was let go, was because they knew what they had in Tanner McKee. So it's fun to watch him play. Hopefully we get to see him play on Saturday. As you and I will be there. So hopefully I like to see him play in person. So that would be a fun thing to see. Of course, I'm going to bring it up. We don't have to talk much about it because it seems like every show we bring it up, but Darius Cooper, everyone's starting to realize now of what I've been saying from the start here. And I will say, I will give you props. You've been calling it since like the day they announced the UDFAs. Yeah.
I will give you mad props, and it looks like I'm going to be getting a number, hopefully different number than 41. But it looks like I'm going to be getting a Cooper jersey.
Yeah, he needs definitely a different number. But no, he just looked great on the field. Watching him play. Even the other receivers, Johnny Wilson had a couple of great catches. Anaya Smith got open. That competition is going to be fun, and I think too, like really watching. This position group, it's especially when you look at Jahan Dotson, if he has a decent season, he could be gone in the offseason as a free agent and sign a deal to be a team's number 2 or whatever it may be and get a bigger deal. Yeah. If you have a guy like Darius Cooper that could take over the spot and to be able to play that, you have a cheap option there that helps you maneuver your money and everything that you need to do. So it's fun to see, but a lot of people saying like, a mini AJ Brown, like that's what I kind of got the feeling, and I didn't want to say it. The first was just because they've been like, "You're an idiot." It's like saying a guy is like, "Oh, he reminds me of Randy Moss." It's like, no, he's not. Yeah. He's never. But I could see that in some of his mannerisms and just how he looks and everything. I could see him growing into that. And I know there've been talk that AJ Brown's kind of taken him under his wing, and you love to see that kind of stuff from the veterans of this team because again, it leads to the culture aspect. That's what this team and this organization is all about. And that shows you what the culture is. So it's fun to see that.
That's a very telling sign for him and his chances on the 53 too. Like when an all-pro, perennial all-pro, future Hall of Fame, definitely Eagles Hall of Fame, pass catcher is giving you notice and like helping you hone your craft. They see something, they want to see something. And this has nothing.
Jalen talking about him. What about Jalen talking about him?
Literally, everybody's talking about him. Like Kevin Patullo talked about him today. Michael Clay talked about him and how he is putting in the work on special teams. He's staying after
that's huge.
Practice
Like
with Aaron Moorhead and working
that's
on
massive
route releases. He's coming out early and doing that. Michael Clay said he's getting reps at both kick returner and gunner, which we've talked about since training camp opened. Like the difference between wide receiver 4 and 6 is who's going to play special teams. And like, what other value do you give us outside of potentially filling in for AJ Brown if he twists his ankle, right? So like,
he's playing.
That was our. Go ahead.
He's playing special teams and be a gunner and kick return. That is massive for his spot on the 53.
That's what I'm saying. And we asked that same question on our last pod. Is like, can Elijah Cooks do that, right? And then he goes out and he plays special teams and he busts his shoulder. Which sucks, man. I feel for that kid. I think he missed again today, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he did. So like, I'm
that's huge. That's hard. That's really hard for him.
That sucks, man. Because these kids, he was having a hell of a camp. He was probably fighting for that wide receiver 6 at this point because I think Anais and Wilson are probably locks.
But the only thing I say with those two, and I had mentioned it to you earlier. A team like the Green Bay Packers have had a litany of wide receiver injuries.
Yeah.
If potentially they called and said, Anais Smith for a 6th-round pick or whatever it may be, and able to flip them and get something out of it, I wouldn't be surprised with that. But I think too is the whole Darius Cooper situation. When we saw him out there right away as one of the first couple guys off of that bench, like
the first off the bench.
Yeah, that was especially it's true because without Devontae and AJ and you just had Jahan and Johnny Wilson and then all of a sudden you see Darius Cooper in there.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, okay. So he, the coaching staff does like him. And you start hearing all the raving of some of the other people who were there at practice, all the beat writers and stuff starting to talk about him and everything. So it's a fun little aspect to see. Now
I will tell you this, after his performance there, and all of the publicity he's getting, I think maybe not nationally, but he's getting more than outside of like our little bubble here. Another thing to keep in mind when you're looking at 4 through 6 or whatever, how many they keep is like a lot of what goes into that is, can we sneak him through waivers? Yeah. I'm not sure you can at this point. So like I know it's just one game, but like it's more than that. It's the practices. These guys, these other teams and these other coaches, they look at film from practice, right? Like they get practice film on guys. Like that's why these practices are so important, especially for the bottom of the roster guys. And so like, I'm not sure you're sneaking him through waivers, and I'm not sure you're going to sneak him onto IR either.
See, my thing too with it, when you look at him as a whole, is he's showing you production. But also, he's a UDFA, which they usually sign very, very cheap, 3-year contracts. That's what they usually do. So they have to claim a cheap contract. It's going to be a no-brainer. And listen, you may not be able to sneak an Anais Smith or a Johnny Wilson either. So, but I'm just like, for me, I just don't think he is a guy that you're going to be able to sneak off away. I think he gets claimed just because of the wide receiver position. And like, if I'm the Green Bay Packers, I throw a claim out there just because, especially when you're dealing with like Christian Watson's going to be on the pup list. You've got multiple injuries on multiple guys. So definitely somebody I think is going to make a spot just because, you're going to be hard to be able to push them. And that's what you're going to see with some of these guys is like, you'll see a guy stay on the roster and then they'll see if they could sneak a guy, especially if it's a veteran, because if you, release a guy and then if he's available, sign him week 2, it's not a fully guaranteed contract if he's a veteran and stuff. So you see that happen. They've done that before. So there's a lot of things that are going to come into play, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And it all throws into the big time news that we got in practice with the open practice on Sunday was Landon Dickerson going down with an injury right towards the very, very end of practice.
Can I say it's super weird that we both. I always get nervous with these night practices because it's ramped up, and we all have PTSD of like the Stu Bradley days, right? What they call it, flight night.
Flight night,
yeah. But I think it's so weird that we both texted each other and we were like, "Yo, I got this weird like Stu Bradley vibe today."
Yeah,
and then Dickerson goes down with like 5 plays left in practice. Super weird.
I absolutely thought about that, like during like the morning or whatever. You know, it's just I don't know. It's just something that always comes up. Yeah. So Landon Dickerson gets hurt, and there's a lot of people thinking different things. He sits in the front, doesn't lay, which okay. So it looks like it's
the forensic analysis that we had going on the timeline on whether it was an Achilles or an ankle, and like what it meant where he was sitting in the cart and all that. It was absolutely hilarious, and I'm guilty of it too.
Dissecting a grainy video. Like it's like the 1950s, trying to look and see. Oh, what's that?
Yeah, it was like looking at the JFK assassination. We were like trying to figure out. But it turned out that it was probably best case scenario. I mean, best case scenario is nothing, but like we all knew it wasn't nothing if Landon Dickerson's writhing in pain and people are taking knees. So.
We were just hoping it wasn't an Achilles or an ACL or an MCL or anything along the lines of a major injury.
Exactly. And it comes out that it's a meniscus, but then it's like we don't know how serious the meniscus is because, as we all know from being Sixers fans, a meniscus can be a pretty shitty injury. So, and then there was that weight of what's the severity, what's the next step. It turns out that he had surgery this morning, and it's a trim of the meniscus, which is less invasive. I'm basically a doctor at this point, but you can trim the meniscus as opposed to repair, right? I've followed all these like football doctors, and I'm seeing their analysis of what's going on, the recuperation and everything, and. The prognosis here is that it's going to be potentially week 1, right? Because it's a trim and not a full repair. Full repair would be end of the season. However, like this is a short-term solution.
I'm thinking week 3 or 4.
Week 2, I think is the earliest.
Yeah.
Right, because like week 2 gets you another 10 days.
You're going to see what they do, because if they place him on IR to start the year, then he's not back till week 5. So they're going to know in the next couple of weeks how it's progressing, how it's looking, because
I doubt he goes on IR.
I just don't want to see the situation that happened. What was it, 2020? Was it 2021 or 2020 with Alshon, where they didn't put him on IR to start the year and he didn't play until like week 6?
Yeah, it wasn't even that. He played at like week 8.
Yeah, it was like why wasn't he on IR to open up a roster spot?
Yeah,
but I just don't want that. I don't think that's going to happen. But give it the next couple weeks. Let's see by the cut down day how he's feeling and stuff like that, and then they'll, go about it.
And I think it's also telling. And we said this in the chat, like whatever happens in practice is going to tell you kind of what they think. Right, like no one was brought in from the outside, which is a telling sign. And they have Toth in there at left guard, kept Steen where he was. So, like, I know they're big fans of not. I heard a lot of people saying prior at right guard you move Steen to left, and that never really made sense to me because it's not really Stout's MO. He's not a big disrupt 2 positions when you don't have to.
Yeah. Steen's having a great time. Like he's played the right guard last year. He played it, and he's been all in camp. You don't move him. You keep him where he's at, and you just plug in your left guard, whether it be Matt Pryor, whether it be Brett Toth, whether it be Darian Kennard. You're going to see, and it's going to be interesting too on Saturday to see kind of the rotation and what you have with the offensive line and who plays at left guard and who looks decent. Like it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that position. But
Agreed.
with Brett Toth going right in there right away really shows you they they like what they see from him. So
well, not only do they like what they see, but they're not overly concerned with Dickerson.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like I don't know if that makes sense to everyone, but it does to me. Like they're not bringing in Dalton Reisner, right? They're not bringing in a Brandon Scherf. They're not bringing in one of the other 5 guys that I mentioned on Twitter this week. They're keeping it in-house, and the in-house is not all that inspiring, which means that they're not worried about Dickerson playing in the near future. But to your point, I think it also says a lot about Toth. Like, we've been killing Toth for his shotgun snaps at center. He's not a center.
I think that experiment needs to be taken over. Like,
I think it's done. I think they're done with that, especially now that he's playing left guard. And I'm sure we'll get to it when we get into the game a little bit. But like, Kendall had a phenomenal game and another good day of practice today. So I think he's kind of solidified himself as center 2, C2, which I'm thrilled with. But I got to give a shout out to Toth, man. Like, he's been Julian Vandervelde'd like for his entire career. He's gone to Arizona. I think he went to the Panthers at one point. Yeah. And he's just kind of been the forgotten 53-man guy with the Eagles. Go ahead.
Like, he played no games last year. He played 3 games, 1 start with Carolina in 23 at guard.
Which we don't
2021, he had 11 games with the Eagles, probably mostly special teams as the extra lineman. Yeah. And then in 2020, as we know, he had that 1 start and he played 6 games. So, like, it's not like he's never played. He hasn't played many games at all. But, like, he's 28 years old. He'll be September 1st. He turns 29. He's 6'6", 304. He's not a small guy. But listen, if they can get something out of him that he becomes, he gives you the necessary snaps to be serviceable and he doesn't look awful, then, you give him a chance. He's been in the system for how long?
No, I like, that's the bar we're setting for Toth. If he doesn't look awful, we're pumped. I agree with you. I think he's going to be probably, I think most people will feel this way, but he'll be one of the top people I'll be watching on Saturday, just to see how he plays. And if he plays, who knows? Like, they might not even play him if they think Dickerson might miss week 1.
I think he needs to play.
I agree, but you never know. They tend to err on the side of caution. But, I just want to give a shout out to Toth. I know he's not going to hear this, but, he has not given up. He's pushed through. He's persevered, which is something the Eagles always talk about and something they love.
The thing with him is, he's going to push through and persevere. He went to Army. It's not like he's a schlub that's going to, just, okay, kneel down and say, all right, I can't do this. No, he's going to fight through. He went to Army. So one little trivia question, though, for you.
Uh-oh.
Can you name the last number 64 to play offensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles? Little left guard, little right guard, here and there.
Pryor? No, Pryor was 69. 64.
He was the last number 64 to play.
Not Jamon Brown, guard. Is it?
No.
All right, who?
Matt Tobin.
Wow.
2013. Well, he played in 2014. He played left guard, I believe.
I'm convinced they're the same person. But yeah, go ahead.
It's crazy to think about, huh?
That is wild. I forgot about Tobin.
And then before him was that old one-year wonder, Jake Scott from former Colt that Tom Moore brought in, or not Tom Moore. Yeah. I can't think of who's the offensive line coach that Kelsey had when he first started. Howard Mudd. Yeah. But no, just an interesting little tidbit thrown in there. But no, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. And, glad they avoided disaster when you look at that, because I think another thing too is, this really opens up the opportunity for Toth because Kenyon Green is injured and got hurt. And, most likely my feeling on this is he's going to wind up ending up on IR. I don't think they're just going to cut him. I think they just want to still see. And he still think he has one more year left on his rookie deal before. I'm trying to think because I think he has one more.
He has a 5th-year option.
Yeah, they're not.
Which was already declined, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so then never mind. But you never know. He could end up on IR and just stash him there for now. But right now, that's not helping his case.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's traded or cut, just straight up.
He's healthy enough. I wouldn't be surprised
if he had, if he was traded for some bottom end,
a swap for a swap, essentially.
Special teams dude or like a 7th-round pick or something.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. But, do
we want to get in the game or do we want to jump into joint practices?
Let's do joint practice. The game, we're kind of, it is what it is at that point.
That's old news.
Yeah.
We got a new one to prep for.
Exactly.
Well, let's get into the injuries real quick as we jump into this. I always like to list these. AJ Brown holding him out of practice. Again, nothing to be concerned with. He practiced at the open practice. Elijah Cooks, we already touched on with the shoulder. I'd be surprised if we see him before week 3 or 4 of the preseason. Dickerson, we already touched on. Kenyon Green again is week to week. I've heard that his preseason is over essentially, which kind of sucks too because like you bring him in, he's a natural left guard. That's all he's played. Like this would have been his time to shine. It would have been a really cool story to see him fill in that spot. I'm actually a little bummed about that, but Toth
it kind of sucks.
Toth is a good story too. And then limited, Bond's back. Gabe Hall's back from that shoulder injury he suffered at the open practice.
Good to see he's back. Yeah,
that's huge. Miles Hinton is a new addition with an ankle. Montrell Johnson, my guy for running back 4, back with a hamstring, and Byron Young's back practicing in a limited capacity too, with a groin injury.
And I want to touch on this next with the injuries. Of course, we're going to see too who plays. Maybe Gabe Hall doesn't get some time because of the injury and stuff like that. But I want to get into the joint practices because when we get into them, the one major thing, and we were watching everything, that's CB2. The Ringo, Dory Jackson, and then Jacorian Bennett getting some time now, some run. He did have a PBU on Jerry Jeudy, but he did give up a lot here. Now, I know you have mentioned about just like, pumping the brakes, giving him some time, which I think is that absolutely like no matter where you're at, whether it's football, whether it's a job and anything, you have to work yourself into a groove, into a rhythm, into habits, and especially when you're in a new place. So for him, like, I hope he gets a ton of run against the Browns in the preseason game.
Yeah.
Just keep letting him get that run, get himself acclimated, get himself going to be able to, to be able to get himself into that position where he can contend and fight for that job because I still think it's wide open. I don't think Ringo is going to be the cornerback too. I've said that since the start. I just don't see it. It's just my opinion on it.
I think a lot of us had blind optimism about him because he made some really good plays in mop-up duty, right, for last year's Super Bowl team. He's got all the traits. The big knock on him was stiff hips, which we saw in that chase play.
Yeah.
And we saw it again against Jerry Jeudy. Now, I mean, granted, Jerry Jeudy, I know it's easy to shit on Jeudy, but like he was number 6 in the league in receiving. Like he
put up some good numbers last year.
Yeah, he had on the Browns of all teams. But like that's not an excuse for Ringo, but I do want to just preface it by saying Judy's not a slouch. But he had an eerily similar play today against Jerry Jeudy in the joint practices. I just don't. I think time's ticking, man. Like Vic said, like time is Time's
Yeah.
running out. Like we're almost this season. At this point, it looks like Jackson's going to be the week 1 starter, just because he's a vet, because he's been there, he's done it.
Yeah.
He's
a lot with the one.
He's the safe pick.
So.
Yeah, I mean, he got the start again today.
Yeah.
Now, on to Bennett, like again, I said this when we got him. I said we need to pump the brakes because although he was a really good player in Vegas for 10 games, it was only 10 games. There's a reason that he was a player-for-player swap with Thomas Booker for a 4th or 5th D tackle. But he does have talent. Like I'm not trying to downplay his talent here. Like he obviously has talent. Howie and the pro personnel department, like I trust them. They've shown the ability to nail it. But like again, it's his first full week in Philly. It's a new scheme. It's a new city. It's a new teammates, new coach, new vocabulary. Right? There's a lot thrown on this dude's plate, and he's only 24. Like I could barely tie my shoes without falling over when I was 24. So like let's give him some time to acclimate. I mean, DeJean, who was borderline all pro last year, like didn't get up to speed for the first 6 weeks. Now, granted, he missed a lot of the offseason because of an injury, but like it took him 6+ weeks to get Fangio's scheme. Fangio's scheme is difficult for pros to learn, which is why when they're looking at free agents, especially in the secondary, they tend to look at people with experience in a Fangio light defense. So again, I'm not saying Bennett isn't going to win it eventually, but I think it's fair to say like give this kid some reps and let him learn first before we shit on him.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I know Hurts had not the most crisp of days, but again, like I don't take too much into like practices and stuff like that and everything. You know, when some people get way too over the top when it comes to
it's joint practice though.
And again, with a joint practice, you can test things that you probably wouldn't test in games just to see certain things. Like there's a lot that goes into it. It isn't as clear cut. Same thing with the offensive line. Like Mailata struggled, but again,
against Myles Garrett,
and
Cam Thomas. But yeah, go ahead.
No, but it's just like I think some people put a little too much into certain things. Like some of these guys try different things and stuff like that because they know it's not a game. So it's like if I'm practicing, I'm practicing some different things. You know, when it comes to that. So like I think some people get a little way overboard. But certain things you want to watch and you want to see. Like there's certain things you can't really. But like, okay,
you're also not scouting, right? Like you're not scouting and preparing for the Browns because they're coming in for practice. Like
plus it's also 100 degrees and it was humid as hell today.
Yeah, that is true. And you know, and they also just came off the like the big night practice, right? The open practice.
Mm-hmm.
They're all kind of reeling from the Landon news, right? There's a lot of emotions going there. I would not be surprised to see the Eagles come out pissed off tomorrow. If it's not a light day. It might be a light day because the game's on Saturday, but I would not be surprised to see them come out pissed off on, you know, some of these one-on-ones and 11-on-11 periods.
Yeah, and look, the camp battles, when you're looking at everything going into this game too, you still have battles going on. So that tight end 3-4, like it's huge. And listen, if one of these guys
let's talk about the positions that we initially thought were going to be battles that I think are over real quick. So like center 2, I think is over. Right guard over. Right, like QB2.
Right guard was over after like the first couple days. It seemed like
it was over in OTAs. And like the real only open competitions and like running back 2, we weren't quite sure. It seems to be Shipley. The open battles here like CB2. We talked about the 4 through 6 at wide receiver, depending on how many they keep. Tight end 3 or 4, safety 2, and on, and then just that inside D line rotation. So let's start at like you were saying, that tight end 3 and 4.
So that's interesting to me because, like, when you really look at everything that's kind of going on, like, I know Calcaterra is like a lock, but to me, it's just like none of these guys have stood out to be able to challenge him. So for me, it is a lock. And honestly, like,
Yeah.
I don't think they keep three tight ends. Like,
I said it early on. I think they go light at tight end.
I think they go 2 tight ends and then they keep 1 or 2 guys. They try to sneak 1 or 2 guys. And if they don't get 2 guys from this group, maybe they pick up another guy or get another guy on the practice squad. But they're gonna have 2 tight ends on the practice squad that they can then elevate and use it that way. So I don't know. Like for me, it's just I'd like to see one of these guys take that step and be able to take it, but I just don't know if they keep 3 guys. I think it could be the 2 guys and then keep 1 on the practice squad.
I think that is the way to go, especially when you have a guy like Cooper battling it out.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I think you need to go late at a position like tight end. And I said this before, you have Van Sumeren in there too, which provides versatility. Right. Like, their third tight end is essentially an H-back. They line up in the wing in 3 tight end sets. They line up as a fullback. You don't need that anymore because you have Van Sumeren. Like, he is your H-back. So I would not be
right
like, they don't need a Harrison Bryant in there to be your H-back because you already have Van Sumeren. And it's not like he's not a guy you can't sneak onto the practice squad anyway as a reserve. So I think they go light at tight end. I agree.
And looking at the safety position, like, it worries me just because I really don't know. Like, you have your 3 guys, Sidney Brown, Makuba, and Reed Blankenship. Honestly, I don't feel comfortable with any of the other guys, like Andre Sam, Tristan McCollum, Lewis Seen. Like, none of these guys have stepped up, really, have given you anything. So I don't know. I just think
Lewis Seen confuses me. I don't understand, like, how he sucks all of a sudden. I really don't.
Yeah. First round pick, and then all of a sudden can't get on the field at all.
With multiple teams, like, not just.
Did he not even play? Like, I don't even remember seeing him at all.
He couldn't even play for the Jets, dude. He played on special teams from what I saw.
Yeah, that's not going to cut it.
So, yeah, from like a safety perspective, it's down to Brown, it's down to Makuba. I think Brown has the edge there, based on Vic's recent comments. It's funny, if you look at the juxtaposition between his comments on Brown last year coming off the ACL and him talking about him this year, it's night and day, man. Like, he said, like, it's there, he has it, he just needs to see it a little faster, right? He needs to be under control. He's trying to rein in that caveman mentality that Sydney has. So I think it's his to lose, and Makuba being a safety a rookie who's missed, a couple weeks of camp, similar to DeJean last year. I think it'll take him a while to move into that rotation. But I think ultimately, if I had to guess, by the end of the year, Makuba will be the starter at some point next to Blankenship.
And again, that's why they drafted him so high. So you get that.
So who do you keep after that? So, like, let's call it those 3, right? You have.
That's what I said. Like, it's just.
Well, that leaves you with McCollum, who's, again, he's the safe pick, right? It leaves you with Andre Sam, who had some really nice plays in the game, by the way. Then you have Lewis Seen, who I can't stop laughing about. You have Hook, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's it, if I'm not mistaken.
Now, what about this? Do they go ahead and just keep 3 safeties and have 1 or 2 of those guys on the practice squad, keep 3 safeties, elevate 1 on game day if you need to or whatever? Because if you have Cooper playing some safety in base, you keep that extra corner. So you take 3 safeties and then, you keep yourself, 6 corners?
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I think you have to at this point.
You know what I mean? Like,
That corner,
if you really look at the numbers and you look at the,
and you might have to go heavier at edge or offensive line too, right? Because of uncertainty at the edge position from a depth perspective and special teams, right? A guy like Patrick Johnson might be invaluable because of his special teams and the way he played in Cincinnati. And then you have the offensive line with uncertainty there, depending on whether or not they put Landon on IR. Right? If he doesn't go on IR, you're keeping an extra lineman. You're going heavy there, most likely.
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to do a 53 projection later in the off season here. But it'll be interesting to see how they make these numbers work, because they have some tough decisions to make, which is the sign of a great team.
I'm going to be very interested to see what they do. I'm excited for the game to see exactly who plays when, where, who stands out. It's going to be fun. It's always, to me, that's the key part of preseason. See who jumps up for you, who gives you that spark, who's able to show you they can play, on the NFL field, who can do that. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun, but it was fun to chat a little bit here, talk about that. But we're going to get back together. I'm thinking about maybe talking about the preseason game, maybe doing it before our weekly show, just so we can just give 15, 20 minutes on just that. So then we don't have to, try and recap it during the show, and we can just focus on anything that happens. So, we'll get that narrowed down and everything. But, as we always end it, go ahead.
I was just going to say one player to keep our eye on in this Browns game is Taylor Morin.
Okay.
Now, I don't think he's a shot to make the team, but I think he's a shot. He has a shot to make the practice squad. He's turning some heads. I've heard that he's been borderline unguardable against DeJean specifically. He's been giving him fits. Had a really nice day from practice from what I've heard. And he's getting some reps in specials at some of the returning positions. So again, just a name to keep an eye on before we head into the game on Saturday. Sorry to block you there again.
No, if you want to throw one on, I'll throw one on defense, and it's going to be a guy I mentioned earlier in the show, and that's Jacob Sykes. He's a guy I'm interested to see how he plays. Really want to kind of see how he hones in on his craft and against the Browns, and see if he can kind of, because he had a couple nice splash plays against the Bengals. Let's see if he
like Milton in that 93.
Yeah, the 93 fits him well.
He did. Let me see. I had a couple notes on him. Just that he had some real big hustle plays and a couple really nice tackle for losses. There's one where he had this sweet like swim move for a tackle for loss that, I mean, it looked like Milton in that 93. So yeah, that's a really good one. Good call out there.
Yeah. So with that, as we always end it with these special words, and that is, go Birds!
Go Birds!
This is Matt Ware. Hey, for all the Eagle content you need, go follow All About the Birds. They do a damn thing. Check them out.
Hey, Eagles fans, I may be in Tampa, but I know where to find the best Eagles content out there. Check out my friends at All About the Birds.
Philadelphia, what's up? This your boy Freddie Mitchell, a.k.a. Fred X. It's all about the bird.
All birds all the time. All birds all the time.
All About the Birds provides you with weekly analysis, game recaps, informative interviews, and it's all birds all the time.